In this session about relationships, we're going to talk about moving in a similar direction. And I think it's really, really important. Let me show you or illustrate if you're not moving in a similar direction. Like if one person is going this way and another person is going that, guess what? There's going to be a lot of pulling, against each other. And that can be unnecessarily stressful. But the good book says, can two walk together unless they're agreed? And I think that's a really good point is, when you're moving in a similar direction, guess what? You're in agreement. And when you're in a relationship, you're looking for agreement or similarity in the important things in life. I'll name a couple, well, I'll name more than a couple, a few topics which are important to consider when you have someone that's before you and you think, oh, they look nice. There's someone that maybe I'm interested in. Let's look at the area of faith. That may be some people couldn't care more and think, oh, that is so essential to my life. But another person couldn't care less. So it doesn't matter whether the person is handsome or beautiful. It's like if one couldn't care less and the other couldn't care more, it's like you're on two opposite ways and you're going to end up pulling each other, right? What about finances? You may have someone that's loves brands, expenses, and looking good, whereas the other person may be someone who's into adventure, experiences, and feeling good. See, that's two different types of people, and it's more than looks. How about children? Oh, this is a really important one. How about if you want children and the other person doesn't want children or doesn't want any more children? That can be a breaker, maker or breaker in a relationship. And you want to know early, right? You don't want to know later down the track when you're together and you for a long time and then you bring up children and suddenly they say, oh no, I'm not interested. It's like, oh, it could break your heart. What about communication? Someone may be closed because of whatever's happened in their life, or that's their character or personality, and the other person may be open, very expressive and sharing. If you have someone on the closed side and someone on the open side, that can be very, very difficult, very, very hard to try and build a relationship when one's open and one's not. And dreams and vision, someone may be a person that would just love to just stay at home and they enjoy just being there, whereas another person may have dreams and visions for something lofty and big in the planning for it, and that you probably could work together with the two. But if one is just really, really settled and the other one is really, really driven, that could create a rift because you're moving so hard and the other person is not really into it. So you got to think about the key areas that are important to you. I've brought up some, but there may be other areas that you think of straight off the top of your head that go, you know what, I'd really like to know if the person is into this or into that, because that's the way that I'm heading. So to find out if another person, your potential mate, is moving in a similar direction, you're going to have to ask key questions. And some people shy away from that, but I think you shouldn't. I think you should really ask key questions earlier rather than later in a relationship. And why do I say that? It's because the longer you spend in a relationship, the more feelings develop, the more your heart is involved, right? The more experiences you share. And so it's very difficult the longer a relationship goes on to break it when, well, not to break it, but it breaks your heart because you invest more and more as time goes on, more of your emotions, more of your heart, more of your thoughts, more of your life with that person. So if you ask questions earlier rather than later, then it stops your heart being unnecessarily invested in someone that's really not moving in the same or similar direction to you. I would add one other thing when you're asking those key questions is, besides not being afraid to ask them, is number two is make sure you get a clear answer back. And why is that? Because if you don't get a clear answer, you're going to be left in your mind wondering, are they or aren't they? So if you find yourself thinking, are they or aren't they, then you need to be persistent, and you need to continue to ask that question. And if that other person's holding back, you might have to have a realization inside that perhaps they are afraid to share the answer of that particular question, because really they're afraid of losing you because they're not really into that particular thing. So moving in a similar direction, very, very important in a relationship. And I hope that what I've shared has helped you to find that person that's more suited to who you are and where you're going inside life. I'll see you in another session.